For the nation, by the nation. Islam Alive Radio.
Assalamu alaikum listeners. Today is Saturday, the 24th of February 2024. The time is 3 p.m. I'm your host Ashka Regal, reporting from Cape Town, South Africa, and this is the show Liberation Education. I apologize for the delay. There is technical difficulties with headphones and all of those, so we are actually live from voice notes, and it's a new system that we are implementing just now. But shukran for being tuned to Islam Alive Radio. Remember, you may check us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, where you can like, share, and subscribe. For any queries, email us on islamaliveradio@gmail.com or send us a WhatsApp on +27 81 217 6012. That's +27 01 217 6012. Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed by any guest or presenter of Islam Alive Radio are not necessarily the views of Islam Alive Radio. Previously on our chapters, we had the first chapter, Islamophobia Worldwide. Then our second chapter, with myself and my co-host Zeenat Ali, we spoke on Muslim women representation. Our third, the Women Within Network with Fozia Abrams, our first interview. Chapter 4 was on a very deep topic, indigenous struggles, with myself and my co-host. Then we had Youth for Humanity with Zaid Ahmed, his organization. We had Aisha Hamdullah, another interview with the DBE International Scholarship alumni. And finally, our last chapter, we had Zeenat Isaacs, who founded the S.M.art Project, supporting mentorship through art. And now for today, we have Thakirah, who's with us. She is the vice chairperson for the UCT MSA, and they've recently had their opening, their orientation. And I just wanted to know about the Dawah Day, the Day of Dawah, and the things that they do on UCT, especially because this is a site for education and the youth and academic youth, Muslim youth. So UCT MSA, they are literally an embodiment of what we do on liberation education. And yes, I'm very excited to have her with us today. Thakirah, shukran so much for joining us today, representing the UCT MSA. So I want you to tell us a bit about yourself. What do you study at UCT? Who are you as a person?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran for having me here today. I am studying psychology at UCT, and for me, I would say that I'm a person who is passionate about people, and more specifically about Islam, and trying to help develop a community whereby we all draw closer to Allah and remember Allah.
Lovely. What brought you to the MSA? When did you start? What is the MSA all about?
Okay, so firstly, what brought me to the MSA, it's a bit of a long story, but I'll try to summarize it. I, alhamdulillah, in 2018 embraced Islam, and I converted to Islam abroad in another country. It was an Islamic country, but the structure of it was slightly different to how it is here in South Africa, specifically in Cape Town. So I was really longing for a Muslim community, and when I came down on holiday in 2019, I was introduced to the MSA, and I went to an orphan fun day that they hosted, and I felt this great sense of community and this great sense of sisterhood and brotherhood that I wanted to be a part of. So when I decided to start my studies, I also intended to be part of the MSA. I joined the MSA in 2022, and with regards to what the MSA is all about, it's hard to summarize it, but In essence, it's about bringing our dear brothers and sisters together to remember Allah and to stabilize ourselves in our deen while navigating university together, and also to surround ourselves with like-minded people where we can also share our experiences together and grow together through gaining knowledge in Islam. We also have different portfolios where students can get involved as well, so they could increase their skill set and also their knowledge of different fields. So that is also something that we have as part of the MSA.
Yes, and what positions did you take on during your time in the MSA? Where are you based?
The first year that I was involved in the MSA, I was part of the media and marketing subcommittee and also part of the outreach committee. And then the following year, I had the honor of being an events manager. And then this year, I've also received the honor of being vice chair of the MSA. Our location, our main office is in the upper campus of UCT, but we also have a smaller space at the mid campus as well.
Great. What does the JK stand for? What should Muslim freshers know about the JK? What is inside and what is provided for Muslim students? There's also a main office, right? Who has access to this office as well?
The JK stands for Jamaat Khana, and roughly to translate it, it means a place of congregation or a place where we go to pray. And we have one on upper campus and on mid campus, so the directions can be found on the Instagram. It is also a place where we meet to have discussions and where Muslim students can go there to just rewind or relax or study. And so we have a male and female JK on both locations that are accessible to the Muslim students and even to the non-Muslim students who are curious about it. They're welcome to come by.
Great. Who is the team behind the MSA, the executive committee? What is the vision of this MSA for 2024? And mention some challenges that you believe Muslim students face on campus today with the university pressures, the norms of Cape Town culture, etc.
The team behind the MSA is comprised of our executive committee and also our portfolio managers. Our executive committee is comprised of Anwar, our chairperson, myself as our vice chair, Zuraida as our secretary, Muazzam as our treasurer, Afreen as our medical campus director, so she oversees the JK there, and Amara as our ex officio. So she's from the previous exec and she assists us in other matters regarding the structure of the exec or discussions and decisions to be made. We also have different portfolios that students can be a part of with a number of managers. So the portfolios that we have is the education and da'wah portfolio, the events portfolio, the JK maintenance portfolio for either JK, the media and marketing portfolio, and the students affairs portfolio, as well as our outreach portfolio. And students are welcome to join part of these portfolios to assist with the initiatives that each portfolio has. In terms of our vision for the MSA, as I mentioned previously, our focus is on bringing a reminder to Allah. So the core of the MSA is Allah and learning more about Islam and how to stabilize ourselves in our deen. But we also want to provide a place where the students can grow in their knowledge and the students can increase in their spirituality and also in their skills. We also want to have a place that represents the Muslim students on campus so that if they need certain things that we can assist with that, inshallah, and also as well as providing a place where Muslim students can interact with each other. So our vision is to provide or to ensure that we create a community, especially focusing on a sisterhood and a brotherhood within our events and to draw each other closer to Allah. Some of the challenges that we face on campus, there are quite a few. I suppose it depends on each student. But the main challenges that we would face is dealing with a different perspective. There are a variety of perspectives on campus, and some of which don't align entirely with Islam. So there could be debates or conflicts regarding that. There's also a lot of secular thought on campus that is intertwined into the academic process. So a lot of students learn about different thought systems that may not also entirely align with Islamic values or with the knowledge that we're taught in Islam. So learning how to navigate that in a respectful manner without losing our understanding of Islam and our deen is something that is quite challenging. Also, there are different cultures on campus as well, which is something that I wouldn't necessarily say is challenging, but more of enlightening to learn about different cultures. But I would say the main challenge is staying closely knit or like holding tightly onto our deen and not letting go of it with the temptations that may be around us from other perspectives or other lifestyles. And so that is something that we try to focus on in the MSA as well, to draw students closer to Islam and gaining a better understanding of Islam so that they don't lose sight of where they are on this journey.
Okay, we will be taking a short break. After the break, we will be continuing with Liberation Education, Chapter 8, UCT MSA. We'll be playing ads and casitas, so sit back and relax, and we'll see you after the break.
Southern Hill Gas and Hardware. If you'd like to purchase any size gas tank or even refill your gas tank, needing any screw or hammer and some sort of building equipment, visit Southern Hill Gas and Hardware in Southern Hill Drive, Lavender Hill. Islam Arrive Radio is sponsored by Southern Hill Gas and Hardware, Cape Town, South Africa.
سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم الفسيح سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح فبالله كم تستطب القروح ويبرأ جروح الكسير الجريح وينشط ذاك السقيم العليل وقد كان بالسقم دهرا طريق تقال العثار العظام به ويغدو الهوى ككبش ذبيح بذكر الإله تطيب الحياة تسر أسارير وجه صبيح تسر أسارير وجه صبيح سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح تنحى يا حزن واهجر فؤادا توكل بجد بعزم فصيح فإني علمت بأنك نجوى ولبس خبيث مضل قبيح. تبختر ترجل بصوت وخيل فما لك في الأرض درب صحيح. إلى الله عدنا وبالله نذنا ليطوى زمان بائس شحيح. ليطوى زمان بائس شحيح. سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح. تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح. يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح. سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح. تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح. يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح.
أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
في سكون الليل أدعو في سجودي والدجى حولي سواد في سوادي. يا رؤوفا يا رحيما يا حليما يا كريما ما لفضلك من نفادي.
يا سميعا يا مجيبا يا عظيما
اهدني يا خالق السبع الشداد.
أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد. أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
للهدى والحق وفقني إلهي فعلى توفيقك اليوم اعتمادي. يا إله الكون يا عوني وغوثي يا ملال الخلق في يوم المعاد.
أنا يا ربي أرجو منك عفوا
فاعف عن ذنبي وحقق لي مرادي.
أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
Greetings from Islam Alive Radio. I'm Ashka Regal, your host for Liberation Education, with our guest, Thakirah Toefy from the UCT MSA. We'll be continuing with the questions to Thakirah. The MSA had a collab recently with Discover Islam on the 12th of February, Dawah Day. What's the most rewarding or eye-opening part about this project for you?
It was not an official collaboration, but we did reach out to a few of the Muslim role players like the MJC and the IPCI, and we managed to gather a group of brothers who engage in street da'wah to help us at campus and to guide us with the process as well. And one of these individuals are a representative of Discover Islam. And this was an eye-opener for us, firstly on how to navigate the process of giving da'wah, but also to see how many students were actually willing to engage and learn about Islam and willing to participate in this initiative as well. So our goal isn't to convert people to Islam, but merely to deliver the message and encourage people to understand Islam in a better way compared to some of the information that is spread about Islam that may not be accurate to it.
You've had some charity events, socials and picnics. Tell us more about these. Where did they take place and what were these charities for? And you had some drives as well, like to help those less fortunate. So please tell us about these drives and if there were any other collabs for these as well.
Alhamdulillah, we are very fortunate as an MSA to have active portfolios that are constantly hosting new events and initiatives on campus. So there's a lot to be involved in if you are interested in being involved in the MSA. Our events portfolio, they mostly focus on social events. So we had a MSA Freshers event yesterday that was for the new Muslim students. It was a social event where we had games and we had food available. Then we also have events by our outreach portfolio that are mostly focused on charity events. And they usually come in forms of having a picnic or a hike or other initiatives like that. We've had one on the 6th of January, which was a charity picnic. And we had a food garden earlier in the year as well, which was actually not early in the year, it was towards the end of last year. It was in December. We had a charity social, which was also raising funds for Palestine. We've had Charity Week, which was collaborating with Islamic Relief. And we do a lot of collaborations with SANSAF, with Islamic Relief and other charity organizations, as many organizations as we can assist with, but we also raise funds on our own capacity to give towards Palestine and other initiatives. We also have other social events, like we had a Revert panel on campus last year, and we have a hike tomorrow on Cecilia Forest, and we've had a number of hikes throughout the year so far, and we'll continue to have hikes in a lot of other events. So if you're interested in the events that we've had, you're welcome to check it on our Instagram under UCT MSA, and we'll post all of our events on there as well. And we've had a number of drives last year. One of them was the blanket drive in collaboration with S.M.art Foundation. We also had a food drive, which was actually an MSA collaboration with other MSAs, like the MSA in Stellenbosch University and CPUT. And we had an Eat Clothing drive as well. All of these drives, we try to get materials to assist the community, but we also try to create a social platform where we collaborate with other institutions or MSAs so that we can broaden our network as well.
You've certainly done so much for so many people with your drives and, all the charities that you do. And I also want to ask about a discussion series on living Islam through your career. Sometimes our careers can consume us. So how do you think we live Islam through our careers? Also, I wanted to ask about exam period. That can also be stressful for some UCT students to live Islam through our academic careers. So what methods do the MSA use to help these students with stressful times?
The most important thing is our intention. And that is something that we try to emphasize. One can do something and the intention can differ. And then the quality of the act, the direction that the act will take you in will fluctuate. So what we try to remind each other is that when we are going and working, developing a career, we need to remember what our intention is. And that will assist us in navigating this path on this dunya. So we need to think about, first and foremost, what does the career entail and why are we doing it? And one thing that I always try to remind myself is that every single thing that we do, there's an element of service in it, especially when it comes to work. We're giving a service, we are doing something for someone else. And the more we try to take a selfless approach, the easier it is for us to open our hearts to having an intention for Allah, as opposed to having intention for things like materialism or status. But when we think about, especially in terms of the broader community, that we're providing a service for the sake of Allah to assist our dear brothers and sisters in Islam through the career that we have gained knowledge to implement on. So for example, for a doctor, their intention ideally would be for the sake of Allah and for the well-being of our brothers and sisters, as opposed to, for monetary reasons or for status. These are things that, we all have different levels with in terms of how we approach it, but what allows us to navigate it in a more efficient way is to purify our intentions and make it about Allah. So we try to have different discussions on campus to remind ourselves of why we are here, and that we don't get stuck in this whole mindset of living on the dunya and doing things in the temporary spectrum of things, as opposed to thinking about what's beyond it and what we're actually doing. So that is something that we try to focus on, and we to think about what their intentions are. And this is not just for our careers, it's for everything that we do. We can turn almost everything that we do into an act of worship based off of the intention that we have. And that is something that is, it's crazy to even break down or think about, because there's a lot of depth in it, but it's something that can lighten the load, especially of the pressures that we may feel when it comes to gaining knowledge and when it comes to exams, for example. We focus on intentions, but we also try to create platforms where students can have a sense of relief. That's through discussions. They can increase their perspective on different things, but also we try to have a khatam for exams. We try to have sessions where students can get more information about navigating the exam process, on du'as they can make for exams. And this is all things that we advertise on our social media and things that we actively advertise on our WhatsApp groups as well.
You had Eid picnics during Eid before. Why did this event why this event, and how did it come about? Additionally, you had maths iftars before Eid. Tell us about both these experiences.
With regards to that Eid picnic, we came up with this initiative because we have a lot of students on resident students, and a lot of students who are from other countries who will not be able to spend, or also other cities as well, who will not be able to spend Eid with their family. So we want to create a place where they can spend Eid with their fellow brothers and sisters and have a lovely a celebration as well, despite them being away from their families. And so we try to make the location and the event as special as possible every year. We also have mass iftars. We try to have at least one every year, and we try to collaborate with other universities so that we can provide a place where we can come together, break our fast together, remember Allah together. We also have Tarawih on campus for the resident students throughout Ramadan as well. So we always try to remember our brothers and sisters and spend time together in remembering Allah and creating a community together.
We'll be taking another break on Islam Alive Radio, and we'll be playing more ads with casitas, so relax, and we will see you again for Liberation Education with our guest Thakirah Toefy, UCT MSA.
Islam Live Radio is sponsored by Al-Muqeed Foundation South Africa. Would you like to donate cash or kind towards feeding our children and people? Contact the following number, +27 66 33 99 775. Al-Muqeed Foundation, South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa, serving the humanity.
تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل. تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل. وطاعته غنى الدارين فالزم، وطاعته غنى الدارين فالزم، وفيها العز للعبد الذليل، وفيها العز للعبد الذليل. تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل. وفي عصيانه عار ونار، وفي عصيانه عار ونار، وفيه البعد مع خزي وبيل، وفيه البعد مع خزي وبيل. تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، تبلوا بالقليل من القليل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل. فلا تعصي إلهك وأطعه، فلا تعصي إلهك وأطعه، دواما علا تحظى بالقبول، دواما علا تحظى بالقبول. تبلغ بالقليل من القليل، تبلغ بالقليل من القليل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل، وهي الزاد للسفر الطويل. وصلى ربنا في كل حين، وسلم بالغدو وبالأصيل، على طه البشير بكل خير، ختام الرسل والهدي الدليل. وصلى ربنا في كل حين، وسلم بالغدو وبالأصيل، على طه البشير بكل خير، ختام الرسل والهدي الدليل. وصلى ربنا في كل حين وسلم بالغدو وبالأصيل على طه البشير بكل خير. ختام الرسل والهدي الدليل. وصلى ربنا في كل حين وسلم بالغدو وبالأصيل على طه البشير بكل خير. ختام الرسل
بك أستجير بك أستجير ومن يجير سواك. فأجر ضعيفا يحتمي بحماك. إني ضعيف أستعين على قوى ذنبي ومعصيتي ببعض قواك. أذنبت يا ربي وآذتني ذنوب ما لها من غافر إلاك. دنياي غرتني وعفوك غرني. ما حيلتي في هذه أو ذاك. لو أن قلبي شك لم يكن مؤمنا بكريم عفوك ما غوى وعصاك. طويل الشوق يبقى في اغترابه. فقير في الحياة من الصحاب. ومن يأمن يا دنيا الدواهي. تدوسين المصاحب في التراب. وأعجب من مريدك وهو يدري بأنك في الورى أم العجاب. ولولا أن لي معنى جميلا لبعت المكث فيها بالذهاب. طويل الشوق يبقى في اغترابه. فقير في الحياة من الصحاب. ومن يأمنك يا دنيا الدواهي. تدوسين المصاحب في التراب. وأعجب من مريدك وهو يدري بأنك في الورى أم العجاب. ولولا أن لي معنى جميلا لبعت المكث فيها بالذهاب. رأيت الله في ذا الكون ربا جميع الكائنات له تحابي. شواهد أنه فرد جليل على رغم المجادل بالكذاب. رأيت الله في ذا الكون ربا جميع الكائنات له تحابي. شواهد أنه فرد جليل على رغم المجادل بالكذاب. تأمل قدرة الرحمن وانظر سيهديك التأمل للصواب. ومد الطرف في كل النواحي سؤالك سوف يرجع بالجواب. طويل الشوق يبقى في اغتراب فقير في الحياة من الصحاب. ومن يأمنك يا دنيا الدواهي تدوسين المصاحب في التراب. وأعجب من مريدك وهو يدري بأنك في الورى أم العجاب. ولولا أن لي معنى جميلا لبعت المكث فيها بالذهاب.
Greetings from Islam Alive Radio. I'm Ashka Regal, your host for Liberation Education, with our guest, Thakirah Toefy from the UCT MSA. We'll be continuing with the questions to Thakirah. How inclusive the UCT MSA is, and we on the Liberation Education show love this inclusivity. In fact, we have talks about this intersectionality of injustices, and that brings me to the point. MSA, they make their stance clear religiously and politically, such as the fees must fall in 2016 to now, with the hashtag Heal Palestine campaign. Why is religion and politics so integrated to the MSA? How is it related to our Muslim academic youth today?
Politics has an immense influence over our communities, our country, and it is essential for us to be aware of what is happening around us and aware of how we can be involved to ease situations and to deal with things that may be problematic in our society. But we always try to link it back to our Islamic values and to have a firm stance with that. Politics is a very complicated place to be in, and I always think of it as a place where the nafs go crazy because there's a lot going on. And so we also have to remind ourselves, and what we try to do at the MSA is to encourage the students to participate in political aspects, but also to remind ourselves that our religion is important and the Islamic values that we are taught are important because they come from Allah, and Allah has greater knowledge over everything than we can ever imagine or even acquire. So trying to link that back into how we navigate even the political field is very important to us. And I think it is important for us to also bring Islam into the political atmosphere so that we can also try to lessen the political aspect in the nafsi way that I was referring to by showing the peace, the rahmah, the love that Islam has, and also the knowledge that we have to offer in navigating the issues that our society has. And so I do think that that politics is something very important to be involved in, but also something to be cautious of because navigating it is very complicated. But I also think that linking it with religion, linking it with Islam is essential. So by itself, it will be problematic, but together, inshallah, we will do justice to the knowledge that we are gaining in Islam, and we will be mindful of our actions and the solutions that we suggest for our society.
That is exactly what the show is all about. and how UCT MSA literally embodies that, justice, seeking justice and standing up for what's right. It's really admirable. And yes, I also wanted to mention a point on liberation education is, like Islamic feminism. And I want to bring up Muslima questions for you specifically as well, Thakirah. The MSA once hosted a Sacred Essence of Womanhood talk focused on the importance of Islamic feminism. Can you speak more on this, of being a Muslim woman on campus?
The Sacred Essence of Womanhood talk was a essential talk, I think, to have on campus, and we try to have more initiatives like that. And Advocate Radia spoke about feminism, patriarchy, and how all of these concepts influence the Muslim woman and influence our society. I would say that feminism is not, in the way that it is structured and the concepts that it has, is not necessarily compatible with Islam, because it was birthed out of a secular society with secular thought and concepts of how society should be structured, and therefore it does not embody the Islamic values that we have. And what it's seeking for is something that can be found already in Islam. So if you're talking about feminism being considering the rights of women and the value of women, that's already within Islam. So it would be a bit redundant to say Islamic feminism, whereby we could just say Islam. Feminism in its own right has different perspectives, some of which are not entirely compatible with Islam because of its understanding of the world and its understanding of the patriarchy. The patriarchy, I would say, is misunderstood because it's looked at through the spectrum of a secular society. Within Islam and the divine knowledge that Allah has given us, there is a more stable and healthier version of the patriarchy that is there to sustain a structure that is useful for both men and women, playing to the strengths of both men and women, and understanding the divine wisdoms within both men and women based off of what Allah has created within us, that we may not perhaps have a proper understanding of right now. So when navigating the society, it's very complicated because we're constantly conflicted by other perspectives that may not entirely encompass Islam. And so what we do is we're in an environment where we can get very confused. And I could say that especially on campus, learning about feminism, learning about other secular thoughts and movements, there are aspects of it that are genuinely linked to Islam, but certain aspects that move away from Islam. And so learning how to navigate that is something that we tried to focus on within that talk, that being a Muslim woman and sticking with the values that Islam teaches us is not something that we should be ashamed of, nor is it something that we should move away from, but rather it's something that we should learn more about, and how to navigate the society without losing the essence of who we are and the essence of why we're here. And I think because of our society being so materialistic and so fixated on creating a utopia on this dunya, a lot of the thoughts and movements that arise from it are focused through that lens. And that's what the problem is, because this is a temporary world. And when we are navigating this world, we need to keep that in mind. A lot of the problems that arise on this world, we can't solve in the way that perhaps we want to solve them, because firstly, we don't have complete control of this world. We don't have complete knowledge of how things are structured, and we can't change other people's perspectives in the way that we want to, because we also, I think the other issue with secular societal views is that they don't understand a human being and how flawed it is. And there's a lack of rahmah that we have for each other. We look at the mistakes that people make in society, and because we want to have this utopia, we view it so rigidly in this lens of labeling people and labeling our dear brothers and sisters without understanding that we are flawed and what we need is guidance. And because we don't have that active guidance within our communities, the Islamic guidance that we need, we lose sight of where we are. So I say navigating campus as a Muslim woman has been difficult for me, particularly due to the wide variety of perspectives and how tempting they can be to want to follow, but realizing that they're not fully compatible with Islam and trying to figure out how to navigate that despite the valid concerns that some of these perspectives bring up, and how to show the Islamic root. This is not about converting society and making the whole world Muslim, but it's about recognizing the guidance that we have from Allah and sticking true to it without looking for other ways of understanding the world, without first understanding the Islamic root, because my understanding is that Allah created this world, He created us, and He knows us way better than we know ourselves. And so once we come to understand Islam, we come to understand Allah, then navigating this path and navigating this world in the complicated way that it is structured will be easier for us, inshallah. And I know that's a lot that I've said right now, and I couldn't unpack all of it properly. So hopefully, if any of the brothers or sisters have questions regarding what I have to say, I hope that I'd get the opportunity to clarify it further. I do know that it is a sensitive topic because there's a lot that is happening in our society, a lot of perspectives and movements that are trying to work for the benefit of our society. And I don't want to overlook that or, forget about the genuine intentions that we have in our society. I just wanted to clarify that. And shukran for this question, because I really do think it's an important question to have, considering the challenges that we face in our society today.
I absolutely adore this, and you know what, the UCT Muslim women on campus is all about what they stand for, what their legacy is. It's just really inspiring and empowering, especially on liberation, education, what we stand for. And I also want to bring about two initiatives that the UCT MSA did with Muslim girls, one being the flower distributions, where Muslim girls gave non-Muslims flowers, and another where the UCT MSA, they allowed non-Muslims to try on hijabs, probably for the first time. So I want you to mention the importance of both these, the flower distributions and the hijab wearing for non-Muslims.
So da'wah is very important to us, and bringing awareness of Islam and the true values of Islam, which I can say personally is very important, because as a person who has converted to Islam, there was a lot of misconceptions that I had about Islam, and a lot of it that was generated by the media and also generated by the lack of knowledge of a lot of the people I was surrounded by. So having an environment or initiatives whereby we spread the true information about Islam is something that's very important to us. And one of the ways we did this was through giving out flowers to our sisters on campus with quotes from the Quran and from the Hadith, and speaking to our sisters. So giving the flowers is a way of initiating a conversation. So it's not as intimidating as just going up to someone and saying, let me tell you about Islam, or do you have questions about Islam? It's a bit intimidating. So giving a flower, giving a compliment, starting a conversation that way is much easier. And it also shows the generosity that we have in Islam, and also the gentleness that we have in Islam. The hijab trying on initiative that we had was also part of Islam Week. And we also wanted to show the beauty of modesty, but also the approachability of it. Unfortunately, with the way our society is structured and the views that our society has on conservative dressing, a lot of people misunderstand what modesty is. and also why we have modesty. And so this also sparks the conversation of why we wear hijab, why modesty is important, and also shows our sisters that it's not as intimidating as it may seem. And a lot of the sisters really enjoy it and find themselves feeling more confident with the hijab on. And it's really a remarkable experience to see how our brothers and sisters interact with these initiatives, because we had for Islam Week a variety of initiatives whereby we were sharing da'wah about Islam. So it's very important for us to make sure that we come with an approachable, welcoming Islam conversation or Islamic conversation, as opposed to being intimidating or overwhelming, or any of those other words that you could use to describe it. So that is what we were trying to go for.
Great initiatives that you have as the UCT MSA. And we're also coming to a close for Liberation Education, this chapter. And before we come to a close, I actually want to bring up a personal question for you, Thakirah. On the 31st of March, 2023, the MSA posted a Meet the Team, and it was of the events team, which you are a part of. And you actually did mention a quote. You chose a Quranic verse, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient. And it was the Quran, verse 2155. And I want to ask you why this verse specifically that you mentioned when UCT MSA posted. Why did you choose this verse?
This is a very important verse to me, and something I constantly try to remind myself of, and something I wanted to share with my brothers and sisters. I think it's very important to remind ourselves of this, because we live in a society today with a lot of fixations on materialism, technological advancements, just creating this comfortable utopian lifestyle that is not actually why we're here. And we forget about the fact that we are here to be tested. And so when we are tested, we respond to it with despair, with anger, with complaints. There's a lot of things that we face in our society, individually and perhaps even collectively, that we struggle to cope with because we forgot why we are here. And this is something I try to remind myself of. And being tested helps us refine our character, helps us remember Allah. It humbles us because it reminds us that we actually do not have the control that we think we have. Even though we can anticipate that we will have tomorrow, there's no guarantee that we will have tomorrow. But because we've gotten into this routine where we think that this is what life is about, and we just actively following our nafs, actively following the sense of comfort, we forget why we're here. And so I thought, let me share this, because perhaps there's another brother and sister out there who's struggling to cope with the world, and perhaps it will be a means of reminding them and also reminding myself that we are here to be tested. And with what is happening in Palestine, we are seeing how these tests come about, and it can be very difficult for us to face, for us to understand, for us to cope with. But it reveals a lot about our society, about our humanity, reveals a lot about where we are as people. For something like this to even occur, it speaks volume to how we are structured as a society, and it speaks volumes to how lost many of us are, because there are people who do not see what's happening in Palestine as something as vital and as heartbreaking as it is, and they may just overlook it and move on with their lives. And it's a reminder from Allah, it's a mercy from Allah, that this life is temporary. We do not have a guaranteed tomorrow. And my heart goes out to my dear brothers and sisters in Palestine, and I pray for relief and strength for them. But I also pray that all of us remind ourselves and or are reminded of the mercy of Allah and the importance of patience and the importance of seeking Allah as opposed to seeking our nafs or our desires. May Allah give us strength.
MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, shukran for your words, Thakirah. Finally, what final words of advice do you have for freshers at UCT, the Muslim academic youth or young Muslim women like yourself on campus? Additionally, where can we follow the UCT MSA and get involved with your projects?
The main advice that I can give is to remember Allah. If you remember Allah, you will find yourself, you will find a way of navigating this dunya, and you'll be able to cope with the challenges that will come. If you forget Allah, you'll forget yourself. And although it's simple to say this, there's actually a lot that can occur through that process. And I see a lot of my brothers and sisters on campus, and I sometimes get really emotional because I see a lot of them struggling. And they're struggling to cope with the society that we're in today. And I just want them to know that it's difficult, but it's also something that is worth it. This path, every path to success, every path that is worth taking is difficult. None of them are going to be easy. But if we remember Allah and we stay strong in our deen, we'll be able to fight it, push through the difficulty, and we'll find ourselves victorious, inshallah, at the end of it. You can follow us on Instagram. You can search UCT MSA. And if you want to be involved in any of our initiatives, you can DM us on Instagram. We will respond. And if you have any suggestions for us, any thoughts, any questions for us, you're welcome to DM those questions to us as well. And we'd be very happy to respond to them and assist where we can.
Amazing. Shukran so much, Thakirah, for joining us today on Liberation Education. It's amazing, this insightful information that you have given us to actually see what you do on campus for our Muslim academic youth, especially our educators, those receiving education to help the world for the better. Shukran so much for being with us today.
Shukran for giving me this honor. I am truly grateful to have been able to share more about the MSA, and I hope that everyone has a blessed day, inshallah.
That is the end of Liberation Education, Chapter 8 with UCT MSA and the Vice Chairperson, Thakirah Toefy. Shukran to our listeners for being patient and for listening through the alternative we managed to adapt through on this chapter. Alhamdulillah. This is Islam Alive Radio. Shukran for tuning in. Remember that you can also find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, where you can like, share, and subscribe. For any queries, email us on islamaliveradio@gmail.com or send us a WhatsApp on +27 081 217 6012. That's +27 081 81 217 6012. Shukran for joining us on Islam Alive Radio. I'm Ashkar Eagle from Liberation Education. I will see you next Saturday.
Allah ya Allah, Allah ya Allah, Allah ya Allah, ya سألتك أن تكون خواتمي أعمال خير في رضاك إلهي يا ربي. رجوتك لا تؤاخذ زلتي، فأنا الظلوم وأنت ترحم حالي. يا ربي سألتك أن تكون خواتمي أعمال خير في رضاك إلهي. ربي رجوتك لا تؤاخذ زلتي، فأنا الظلوم وأنت ترحم حالي. يا ربي سألتك جنة عرض الفضاء وبطول جودك يا مليك مناليا، ويكون قصر الخير ملكي يوم أن تبيض أعمال فأخلد عالي. يا ربي سألتك جنة عرض الفضاء وبطول جودك يا مليك مناليا، ويكون قصر الخير ملكي يوم أن تبيض أعمال فأخلد عاليا. في جنة الفردوس ربي مسكني، ولوالدي بجنة متعالية أفديهما بقراب أرض طهارتي، وبكل ما ملك الفؤاد وما لي أفديهما بقراب أرض طهارتي، وبكل ما ملك الفؤاد وما لي في جنة الفردوس ربي مسكني. لبي إلهي في الجنان سؤالي، لا تجعل اللهم شيطان الهوى في طرفة من عين توكلها لي. لا تجعل اللهم شيطان الهوى في طرفة من عين توكلها لي. يا ربي سألتك أن تكون خواتمي أعمال خير في رضاك إلهي. ربي رجوتك لا تؤاخذ زلتي، فأنا الظلوم وأنت ترحم حالي. يا ربي سألتك
يا رب أنت المستعان وأنت نور التائهين. ظمئت نفوس المؤمنين فمن يروي المؤمنين. يا رب زدني من علومك واهدني سبل اليقين، وأنر فؤادي بالهدى والخير والحق المبين.
فأنا الظلوم وأنت ترحم حالي.
صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها. صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها. خير الخلق هو الهادي نور الكون به بادي، عم الناس بإرشادي أزكى الخلق وأرضاها. صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها. صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها. نور الله المتقدم قبل الخلق المتعلم بدر النور المتلثم هادي الخلق لمولاها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها بعد السترة قد صار ورأى الحق وأنظرا وقف الروح وما سارا اذهب وحدك يا طه صلى الله على خير الخلق وأحلاها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها ارضى إلهي بالآلاف عن أهل البيت الأشراف والأصحاب أولي الإنصاف نالوا الخلد وسكناها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها
محمد منصور صفي الله طاهر غياث غوث نور صلى الله على طه حامد محمود نجي الله كامل وحيد هاد داعي صلى الله على طه
مليح لونه كحيل طرفه جميل نعته ساد مرقدا قمري وجهه بهي شكله عظيم خلقه طه المجتبى رحيم قلبه صدوق وعده عميم جوده ماح منتقى صلاة ربي مع سلامي على محمد سيد الأسماء صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها